Today, I'm here to discuss about the structure of an atom. Atoms are the building blocks of matter, and matter are anything that occupies a space and has a mass. So, everything around us are made up of atoms. So, what is the structure of an atom? There are a few models which actually deals with the structure of an atom, and let's just get a look at them. The first ever proposed model for the structure of an atom was by Dalton. He said that matter is made up of atoms and atoms are indivisible and indestructible. And this model was quickly rejected because it never dealt with the structure of an atom. It said that atom is the base. There is nothing beyond atom. And he said that atoms are indivisible. Well, actually, atoms are divisible. There are particles smaller than the atoms and they are called subatomic particles. Hence, Dalton's theory was rejected. The very next model was proposed by J.J. Thomson and his model was called as plum pudding model. J.J. Thomson performed a cathode ray experiment where he took a cathode ray tube and applied a very high voltage across the electrodes. Then he observed a set of rays originating from the cathode and moving towards the anode in this tube, and these rays were deflected using an electric field. These rays were deflecting. Actually, the cathode rays were bending, they were deflecting towards the positive plate. It means these rays are negative in nature. Also, when rotor blades were placed in the path of these rays, these blades were actually rotating. That means the ray constitutes of particles. Thus, the first ever subatomic particle was discovered and it was electrons. Electrons are negatively charged and they have a mass. So, Thomson proposed this plum pudding model by saying that since there are negatively charged particles, there will be positively charged particles because atom is neutral in nature. And the structure of the atom is like a positive charged particles C where these negatively charged electrons are embedded. It's more or less like a watermelon where the red part is the proton C and the seeds are like the electrons. This actually dealt with the charge because the positive counteracts the negative, so it's neutral in nature, but this model couldn't explain the stability of the atom. And the newly found subatomic particles were not able to accommodate in this model, so the plum pudding model was also rejected. Then the next model was proposed by the scientist Rutherford, who is actually a student of J.J. Thomson. Rutherford carried out the alpha ray scattering experiment where he took a thin gold foil and allowed alpha particles to pass through this foil. Alpha particles are highly energetic. They are positively charged particles and alpha particles were going through this very thin gold foil. He set up around a circular detector around this coil, so anything that falls on this detector, there will be bright spot because this detector was coated with zinc sulfide and we can see what happens in here. So the observations were like most of the alpha particles pass through the foil without any disturbances. They weren't deflected, they just passed through them undeviated. We can actually see that on the detector. It means it led to the conclusion that most of the space in an atom is empty. That's why the alpha particles were so easy to go through. Then we observed a certain set of particles that were deflected by small angles, and there were 1 in 1,000 like alpha particle that was rebounded. It was reflected 180 degrees. It went to where it came from. So Rutherford and his associate began thinking and they found a perfect answer. Alpha particles are positive in nature. So if something deflected or just reflected these particles, that has to be positive and it gotta be massive. It will be huge. So it led to the discovery of nucleus, which is at the center of an atom, which comprises of the entire positive charged particles in an atom. So nucleus is the central portion in an atom which contain the protons. Protons are the positively charged subatomic particles in an atom. Also, Rutherford proposed or hypothesized the existence of neutral particles along with these protons. He said that nucleus contains these protons and these neutral particles, and we call those neutral particles neutrons. And electrons are revolving around this nucleus in circular orbit. This was Rutherford's model where there is a nucleus containing protons and neutrons and electrons are revolving around the nucleus. The number of electrons and number of protons are exactly the same. so the charges will cancel out each other. But this model couldn't explain stability and also the line spectrum. So the very next model was proposed by the scientist Bohr. His model stated that the protons and neutrons are inside the nucleus and electrons are revolving around certain specific orbits called as shells. And these shells can also be called as energy levels because each of the shells have a particular energy and an electron in the shell possesses this energy. So, when an electron goes from a lower energy level to a higher energy level, it absorbs energy, and coming from a higher energy level to lower energy level, it emits energy in the form of radiations. This was a very acceptable model of an atom. So, in short, an atom consists of 3 subatomic particles: electrons, protons, and neutrons. Electrons are negatively charged, protons are positively charged, neutrons are neutral. The number of electrons and number of protons are same, and it is called the atomic number. The sum of number of protons and number of neutrons is called as mass number. It's inside the nucleus. Nucleus is heavy. Most of the mass of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus, and nucleus is located at the center of the atom, and atom as a whole is neutral. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you understood this. Thank you.